Good morning, Diana and Molly.
Hi.
Morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for jumping on this call. It's good to see you both, and I'm starting to get pretty excited about the conference in April. And just wanted to take a few minutes to talk with you this morning, have each of you introduce yourselves a little bit, and then talk about your workshop day, what people can expect if they come to your day long workshop and just kind of chat a little bit about that.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
Molly, you want to get us started?
Sure. For those who don't know me, I'm in the Philadelphia area in private practice. I've been a dietitian since 1980, and then in the mid 90s went to social work school. So I've also been a therapist since then. And about 5 years or so ago, I've let my nutrition practice go. I discovered IFS in 2013, and after my level one, haven't looked back.
Yeah.
It's been the primary model I use. And as a therapist, I work with all different kinds of clients, not specifically eating disorders. But because of my past career as a dietitian, I have been passionate about bringing the IFS model to my nutrition colleagues, and I've done that with Diana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Diana Richards. I am a nutrition therapist, registered dietitian just outside of Boston in Watertown, Massachusetts. I've been a dietitian since I believe 1999. I was a non-traditional student going back at 35. And once I have a yoga practice, I taught yoga for a couple of decades, and finding IFS was transformative for me personally. And when I applied it, I did a level one in 2011. As I started applying it, it was transformational in a phenomenal way in my clients. And, Molly and I both utilize motivational interviewing, which relaxed our systems a little bit. But IFS has, I shared with someone the other day, I have never had burnout since 2011. I don't tire of my work. I
Yeah.
work primarily with eating disorders and IFS together. It's kind of like the only way for me. So I'm really grateful to the model and for the collaboration Molly and I have involved ourselves in to bring IFS to dietitians.
And I am so appreciative of that. Having worked in residential setting for 13 years and then PHP for adolescents for 3 years after that, before my private practice, um, specifically with eating disorder clients, it is so invaluable to have a team working with a client that uses IFS, that understands IFS. So having a dietitian to refer to as a therapist is like amazing that we're all speaking the same language and working with our clients from that really curious, compassionate place about what's happening with their food and with their relationship with their body. So
Mhm.
I'm so excited
Yeah.
for this workshop.
And Teresa, even though we both come from the nutrition world, this workshop is designed for everyone who works with eating disorders, not just dietitians. I think a lot of the dietitians will choose our workshop, and yet it will be for everyone, for
That's
sure.
great. Can you tell us a little bit about what the day is going to look like?
Sure. Well, if just to give a little sort of overview, we all can see that our clients hold cultural burdens and beliefs that certainly contribute to their eating disorder. And we're all very prepared to, give them all the facts and figures about how those beliefs aren't true and all that, and give them counterexamples. And we all have noticed how that only goes so far. Um, and there are parts of them that still hold on to those beliefs. Well, we're the same, right? We're human beings as well. And so we have parts that are carry burdens from cultural beliefs, family beliefs. And these, of course, affect our work. And so this workshop is based on that. And um, what we'll be doing is helping people um, notice, be aware of their own beliefs and burdens that are in there. We all have unique systems. And we'll do at least the first steps of how to work with these burdens and beliefs um, to most effectively either get space from them while we're working, or ideally completely let these beliefs go, which is a big ask. But
Mhm.
so that's basically the overview
Yeah,
of why we're doing this.
yeah.
Mm.
And I would
Yeah.
add on to that, that I noticed in myself a deep level of uncomfortableness at times when something has arisen in me or I've become activated in a session with the client for whatever reason. And so I started looking outward, thinking, other providers are also uncomfortable. And I have a couple of consultation groups, and I hear this come up in those groups as well, that these are places where, as providers, a U-turn is super effective, but it doesn't feel good to kind of point the finger at yourself for an implicit bias that was just discovered. And the other, like with eating disorders sometimes too, or any addictive process, there can be a caretaking part and that we try to minimize or take care of. And so instead of shifting direction or disregarding what clients say, like, oh, I love getting high, we validate the negative behavior can be exciting and useful to clients. They're rescuers, like, oh no, but you don't have any weight to lose, or defensive. Some therapists are telling me, or dietitians are saying, oh, my client came in, I'm an anti-diet, weight inclusive dietitian, and my client just said they're on a GLP-1, and they get activated with that. And the last thing I'll say about therapist parts is that we have a tendency sometimes to label or judge certain distractor, firefighter activity as bad, destructive, useless. And I think this is really critical. I remember years ago, a dietitian gave a client of mine a list of foods to eat, only eat these foods. And it had completely destroyed her because it was organic foods, it was grass-fed beef. And so that bias came through and it was harmful to the client. So these are the kinds of can we notice in ourselves in the moment, but then work with it afterwards.
Mhm.
And so, would you say that, or could you talk a little bit about the experiential piece of your workshop and how that's going to work from being a virtual attendee at the conference?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, we are aware that it's going to be virtual. We will do some breakouts, which will be useful for people to interact. We're also aware that there will be people who want to gain value from the recording. And recording the breakouts just won't make sense. So
Yeah.
we're going to balance that a little bit. Um, we're going to have a bunch of experiential, basically meditations or guided things that we'll ask people to go through, and then brief breakouts to, discuss them in smaller groups, and then come back in the bigger group to share more. And we're hoping that doing a mix of that will bring more value to more people.
That's great.
Mhm.
Could you just note if somebody doesn't have any IFS experience, and is coming from the eating disorder world and vice versa? Like, is this workshop, what level would you say of understanding and knowledge would people need? Is this like a basic for, if we just look at eating disorder world, IFS world, where would you
Yeah.
put that for this workshop?
It
I would,
feels more intermediate to me. It's
yeah.
IFS knowledge will be incredibly useful, yet the meditations Molly and I develop are meditations. So a brand new student participant at a level one doesn't know anything about the meditations, but they can drop in. They can
Mhm.
have an experience inside of themselves through the guidance that Molly or I will offer. So I think a basic will be okay. They won't get the fullest expression of where we're going, but they will more than likely be able to touch into some biases or internalized beliefs that they hold.
Right, absolutely. And our whole process will be, of course, infused with the IFS model. That's what we'll be using. We will not be doing IFS 101.
Exactly. Right.
That's not what this whole conference is, right?
Be right.
Um, yeah. So it'll be, yeah, intermediate, I'd say. Yeah.
Right. Um, are there any books or is there anything that you would recommend people read beforehand if they don't really have a good understanding of IFS? Any good basic things that you would recommend?
Well, certainly Dick's No Bad Parts is the initial one that I always recommend to people as the
Right.
most accessible. And then in terms of IFS and eating disorders, of course, the most recent is Jean's book, Unburdened Eating.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Another for folks that have short attention spans as well. The Martha Sweezy has been writing some amazing articles for Psychology Today. And so if they go to Psychology Today, find her, they're very short articles that compare psychotherapy models, let's say.
Mhm.
And then for providers, if after this they want to know more, there's also a second edition of the Introduction to IFS on the site that they can buy.
Mhm.
Great.
Yeah.
And then the two of you, of course, have trainings and resources available too.
Right. And our newsletter, and we have archives of our newsletter with a lot of resources on each of our websites.
Great.
Mhm.
That's great. Well, I'm really looking forward to your workshop. Anything else you want to add?
I'm excited. I was at the
Me
workshop in
too.
person or the conference in person last year, and I'm really looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too.
Great. Thank you both. Thank you both for being a part of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Have a good day.
Thanks.